What's up, guys? So today I'm going to be showing you guys how to map out a single panel on the mock roof behind me. Just give you a general idea of, the steps that you do after you get on the roof, get your safety set. Most guys, what they like to do is sound out the rafters and mark them up at the ridge. That way they have a general idea where each one is as they're going around the rafters. So I'm going to show you just how we do that. We'll come up and find the edge of your roof. You're going to hit your first rafter, mark that. Find your second rafter. So like I said, you're gonna sound them out, find your first rafter, go down the line, find your next rafter, keep going down the line, mark them all out at the ridge. Mark them all out at the ridge makes it a lot easier for you to just glance up at it as you're going down the array, as you're drilling out, doing your drill patterns, to get a general idea of where those rafters are sitting. All right, so now that we have sounded out our rafters, we know exactly where our rafters are. The next thing we're gonna do is map out our array, or in this instance, we're gonna map out the single panel that we're doing right now. In this example, I'm just going to use a general panel dimension of 65.5 inches long by 40 inches wide. This will, it's probably a median size of what you guys are used to working with. Some may be larger, some may be shorter. For this, we're going to use 65 by 40. If you have fire setbacks, I always say start with your fire setbacks, map those out first. In this instance, typically they're about 3 foot. In this instance, since we're on a mock roof, I'm just going to use 16 inches from the ridge. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here, take 16 inches from the ridge. It's right here at the bottom of the shingle layer. So right here, my fire setback. I am not allowed to install anything within the fire setback per fire and building code. All right, so then once you have your fire setback drawn out, a lot of guys like to put the panel dimensions on the roof. That way, if you have multiple guys mapping out and doing stuff, everybody knows what the panel dimensions are. I'm just gonna put it here so you guys know. We all know we're gonna do 65 inches by 40 inches. And that's in my fire setback. Make sure we're not installing up there. Fire setback zone. All right, for our panel, we're gonna map out, we're gonna start, I always like to start top left corner. So I'm gonna start right here. I usually like to start, if you don't have, from the plans, they'll tell you where to start. Start about 6 inches in. For this example, it's just about exactly where I'm gonna start, right here. This is gonna be the top of my panel. So I'm gonna make another mark here. And to show that it's the edge of my array, I like to draw a little box in the corner. That tells me, or whoever else, as we're drilling out, as you're drilling, you're going down, hey, there's a corner there, the array doesn't go any further, stop. All right, so once you have your top corner mapped out, you know your starting point. From there, you can go whatever way you want, whatever's more comfortable for you. If you're working from a steeper roof, you're working from a positioning lanyard, you might want to go straight down from there and then work your way over. It just depends on what's more comfortable for you. Right now, I'm just going to go down. I'm going to take 40 inches down from here. That puts me right here. 6 inches in. Again, putting my square there to show it's the end of the array. Nothing else is going to be drilled. So now that you got the left side of the panel mapped out, we need to take our measurement over. It's 40 inches by 65 inches. 65 is right here. Let's put a mark. There's the top of my panel. The end of my array. It's going to get a box. Same thing. I come straight down from that. 40 inches. Here you go. There's my panel. All right, so now we got the array mapped out, right? There it is. We need to figure out where our rail is gonna sit on that. For this system, we're doing a rail system. We're gonna be using Quickbolt feet attachments with Unirack rail. So clamp zones, let's talk clamp zones real quick. Clamp zone is how far from the edge of the panel down in the rail is gonna sit to actually clamp the panel onto it. You don't want your clamp zones too far in, because then you're gonna get a wobble on either end of the panel. You don't want them directly on the ends either. You want them about 6 to 10 inches in. That's a good rule of thumb. You have to always check with the panel manufacturer and your region of where you're living with your snow and wind loads to figure out what the exact cantilever you guys need for your project. But a good rule of thumb, 6 to 10 inches for a landscape panel is a good cantilever. So if we're gonna do 6 to 10 inches, the middle of that, let's just say 8, that puts us right in the middle of this shingle layer. Should do the same coming up from the bottom, sure is, middle of the shingle layer. So that is where our rail's gonna sit. Some guys like to draw arrows to show where the rail's gonna sit at each end of the array, so that way when you're going down, drilling out, you can look down and be like, all right, I'm still in the same shingle layer. I didn't go halfway down and start jumping up to the next shingle by mistake. Happens to us all. I've done it myself. Happens, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's what you do there. All right, so now we know where our rail is going to be going. We got to figure out where to place our feet on the roof, right? So you're always going to have feet at the ends of your array, the last rafter underneath where your panel is going to go. Your feet are always going to sit there. You're always going to have feet all the way down from the top to the bottom of your array. That's where feet go. Between those feet, they're going to be staggered. There's going to be different lengths that you go. Again, it's going to depend on the panels. It's going to depend on the racking you're using. So check your plan sets. Always read your plan sets. So in this case, there's 16 on center rafters. We are going to hit the ends, and then we're going to just hit every other rafter going down, staggering, which means your top row isn't going to be the same as the next row down. I'll show you what I mean in a second here. All right, so where do we place our first foot? Let's talk about cantilever real quick. What is cantilever? All right, so we talk clamp zones. That is how far in from the top and the bottom of the panel, right? But what about the left and the right of the panel? Okay, that's your cantilever. The cantilever is the edge of your panel to where your first foot is underneath that array. You have too much space, it's gonna be problematic for wind and snow loads. You don't want it too far in. So you want your first foot. Again, check your plan sets, check with your boss if you don't know, call somebody, figure it out, but you're gonna wanna be within 12 inches. I'm gonna use 12 inches for this one. So within, 4 to 12 inches from the end of the panel is where I want my first foot. Okay. Now, the end of the panel lands right on a rafter. Do we want a foot there? No, because it's gonna be seen from the ground. You're gonna see that. It's gonna look like shit. So we're not gonna put one there. Okay, we're gonna go to our next rafter end. Luckily, a lot of the end of the roofs, it doesn't just go into the roof and then 24. There's usually a split one between there. So if you're maxed out, you're usually pretty good. You go to your next rafter end. If you're checked here within 8 inches, we're good. My first foot is going to be drilled out and put right there. All right, remember what I said. If you do one on the top rail at the end of the array, you gotta have one right below it. So we're gonna put one right here as well. Now, going across this array, you're gonna hit your first one, and then you're gonna hit the very next rafter. So, in this case, I know where it is, but some guys like to sound it out. We're gonna sound out our rafter. We got our first one, you're gonna go down, find your second one. That's where the next foot is gonna go. First one, second one. After that, you're gonna skip. Depending on some, you'll skip 2 rafters. Depending on others, you'll skip 1 rafter. This example, I'm just skipping 1 rafter. So you're not gonna put a foot here under the next rafter. We're gonna put one here at the end of the array. Now, next row down, we are not gonna put one here. This is called staggering. We're gonna change the load of which rafters we're putting weight on. So we're gonna go to the first one, skip the second one, find our third one, put a foot there, and then again, end of the array, always gotta have a foot. Last one's gonna go there. So as you can see, if you have more panels going down, you're gonna see the staggering, you're gonna see a trend as it's going down the roof. They're gonna be in kind of rows like this going down. All right, so let's talk Quickbolt. Let's talk our hardware real quick. What are we going to use for hardware? Quickbolt is this simple setup. You get a puck, catches Spider-Man. Puck, you get a lag bolt 1/2 inch, and you get a L-foot with a channel that is accommodating to many of rail systems. So this is universal. This can be used in different rail systems. Very easy. Lag bolt goes in the hole. Puck, shiny side up. It's kind of concave. That goes through like so. The way this lag is designed is it has kind of a cone shape there. As it goes through the L-foot, the cone actually will go into the hole there, suck some of this pad down into it. They say you don't need caulk with it. I don't see why it wouldn't hurt to put a bead of caulk around it as well. It's not gonna hurt. All right, next I'm gonna show you 2 different ways to figure out where on that shingle course you're actually gonna place the foot and drill into that rafter. Now, if your shingles are really straight, you can just use the shingle and place your base foot, take an empty one of these that aren't on the L foot, place it up against that shingle course, and then mark it and drill there. That'll give you the same distance from the top of that shingle down on every one. Other guys like to pop a line. Let me show you how we can pop a line. So you'll come to one end of the array. You're gonna take a measurement from either your gutter, your ridge, whatever's the straightest edge you got on the house. We'll say in this case, 22 inches. We'll go there. We're gonna go down to the other end of the array. We're gonna take 22 inches from our ridge, because our ridge is super straight all the time, always, right guys? Sure. So we'll do that. Then, next thing we will do is take our handy dandy chalk. We're gonna place it. As you can see, the shingle line isn't as straight as the top of the bridge, but we'll pop a line. Very hard for you guys to probably see. I can see it. It is blue chalk. That's all I had right now. But that's another way to do it. That way, when you're drilling across that line all the way down, your rail is going to be super straight. So I like to take my base, my drill bit, use that as a guide. I'll place it right here up against the top of that shingle line, right over where the rafter is. You already hammered out, you made a mark, or you hammer right before you place it down to drill out. I like to just make a little indication with that, indentation, and then drill your rafter out. If you miss, oh no, I missed. What do we do when we miss? We're gonna grab our chalk and we are going to make a line over our make and a semicircle over our miss. That lets the guy or myself know as I come back to put my geo down, my caulk. We're gonna put caulk in this hole. We can put a piece of silver flash underneath it, and then my lag goes in this hole with the line. All right, so now you have gotten everything drilled out. Your roof's ready to go. Two ways you can do the feet with your caulk. Some guys like to caulk the bottom of the feet and then lag it in. Some guys like to go around on the roof, put a bead of caulk around the hole first and then lag it in. Just preference, I guess, you know, like if you're on a steep pitch and you're really on your ropes and using them a lot, or even low pitch, it's gonna drag through them. So in that case, you probably wanna do it as you go. Just work with your team, figure out what works best for you guys. But here we go, we're gonna lag them in. All right, so that's it. So we got the feet up. Step one of the roof install is done. Everything's drilled out, feet are in, everything's secured, everything's flashed. All our drill holes are sealed, so we don't have to worry about any future leaks. Next up we can move on to is getting the rail up, getting our microinverters or our optimizers on, getting the rail grounded, and running our wire. So that'll be in the next episode. Stay tuned for that one.